didn't realize it, but I didn't realize it was already 25 years since Public Enemy's Fight the Power came out. And how I remember that is that when they were filming the video, me and my partner were up on the roof looking down at the it was almost like a march actually, the video. And he was saying like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Rap music is really, we've grown up now. I mean, look at this, look at all these people out here. Because they were all following PE, Public Enemy. And I was excited that the fact that rap had actually achieved that level of notoriety at that point. It wasn't just some guy, some young kid banging on a lunchroom table. I mean, rap had really gotten to the mainstream. And then as I'm celebrating, all of a sudden I get a second thought, and I said, well, wait a minute. The fact that it's gotten so successful, how long is it going to be before they try to destroy it? Because what came into my mind after that was a scene that I remember from Malcolm X's book, where there was one of the Muslim brothers had gotten beaten up by the police, and then they were out there protesting and demanding that someone come in to see him to see if he was okay. And then once they did, Malcolm X, let everybody know, the whole crowd to disperse. And with just a few words, he dispersed the whole crowd. And I believe it was the police chief or one of the police people in the police department was saying, oh, that's too much power for one nigga to have. And it dawned on me that rap was actually was no longer just about music and beats and rhymes. It was actually a movement, and they can actually use that vehicle to start applying change and actually affecting how young people thought in a positive way. And I knew that it was only a matter of time before they destroyed it, because there was no way that they were going to allow some music that they didn't even consider to be music to get that powerful. And I got to give it hats off to Chuck D and Public Enemy for actually getting it to where it was, because I mean, the rap music at that point was a little bit of everything. We had so many different rappers that were out at the same time. I mean, you had Tribe Called Quest, Public Enemy, Rakim, Boogie Down Productions, Ultramagnetic, Big Daddy Kane, NWA, De La Soul, LL Cool J, Run DMC. These people were all out at the same time. We can recite those lyrics, and they would actually drop in some real knowledge in all of those lyrics. And as kids, we were only like, maybe 15, 16 at the time when all these, rappers were out at that time. And we could recite every word. Everybody wanted to be a rapper. Everybody wanted to be different and have their own style. So what happened? We fast forward. Consolidation happens. There used to be a time where you can go down south and get a whole different flavor of music. Go out to the Midwest, to the Pacific, over on the West Coast, and get a whole completely different sound. And then what happens when these radio stations start gobbling up other radio stations? Before you know it, everything gets consolidated. There was a time where you can go down south to Georgia, Atlanta, Florida, and actually get a whole completely different type of rap music. People like me back in those days, I was like a beat junkie. I was like, I was looking for good music wherever I can find it. But then once all these stations started gobbling up other stations, either whether it be Clear Channel, gobbling up all the stations, or MS Communications, or Viacom swallowing up all of these, the BET and all these other outlets for music. What happens? Everything starts to become like a cookie cutter venture after a while. And the problem was that groups like PE and Rakim and Big Daddy Kane and Tupac, I gotta keep that in mind, but I'm gonna get back to Tupac in a minute. But all these different type of groups, they were born. These people were born. These were artists that were born. These were Uh, 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 these are people who wanted to be MCs. They were true MCs. Nowadays, these rappers can be manufactured. So no longer are these rappers that are out now can command the type of respect that a lot of these MCs and lyricists had back in the days, because they were all individuals. Now, a person who's a genius, who was born a genius and works hard to make some great invention or something that changes the world, it's only a matter of time before he realizes what he's worth. And he's not going to take any shit from anybody because he knows what he's worth. And there's going to be somebody else bidding for him to be able to do what the hell he wants to do over there. And that's how it was in the rap industry back then. You know, if you didn't like Chrysalis, you can go over to MCA. If you didn't like MCA, you can go to Profile. If you had to go to Profile, you can go to Universal, Def Jam, Elektra. You had a bunch of different outlets to be able to express your music, and people and other record companies would bid on you. But what happens when you consolidate? Your choices start to get diminished, because one company swallows up another one. And then after a while, they said, you know what, since we have all the radio stations owned and controlled, we'll decide what everybody listens to. It's not going to be based on what they like. It's going to be based on what we play in repetitive rotation. And then they'll have to like something of what we play, because that's all we're giving them. It's almost like, why do Southern blacks like hog maws and chitlins and fatbacks and all of that stuff? Why do they like that? Because during slavery, this is the only part of the pig that they were allowed to eat. And before you know it, it becomes a delicacy amongst that group. It's not because it's good food. It's just that you've gotten used to it and accustomed to it. So all of a sudden you start to like something that you previously hated several generations back. But that's how it works. By slow, melodic repetition over and over and over and over and over again, they hypnotize you into liking something that you're constantly being bombarded with over and over again. I remember back in the days, I was speaking to a record executive, and I happened to ask him, I said, well, why is it that all of this positive rap that's actually saying something to actually move the masses, why is this not being played on the radio any longer? He says, oh, well, people don't like that stuff. They're not trying to hear all that stuff. They're just trying to dance and party, And I'm saying to myself, that's not true, because when we were kids, we were listening to all that stuff, and we were dancing and partying while we were listening to it. The beats were hot. The lyrics were hot. We were actually listening to lyrics. Now the kids don't even listen to lyrics. So when it really gets down to it, when you can create something out of thin air, like a rapper or a producer, there's really no intrinsic value in either one of those things any longer, because you can always create another one. And if that one gets out of line and thinks gets his head too big and starts to demand and to make demands on the record label, we'll just get rid of him and just create another one. That's where it's been. It's like this is a throwaway society now. And this is what's happening, and what has actually ruined rap music. Now, I'm not even sure if most of these MCs that are out right now are even going to be able to have an old school. If they're going to even be able to, in their 40s and their 50s, be able to perform some of these songs that they're making now, because some of the songs right now are just straight trash. A 5-year-old can make these records in about 10 minutes. Hooks, verses, and ad-libs and everything. It'll take them 10 minutes to make it. Now, this is where the problem comes in, where you have, and this is actually why I'm actually glad that you have other avenues like the internet right now. Because if Tupac had survived, Tupac was not going to be a rapper much longer. Tupac was going to be a movement. He was going to be a leader. He was going to be leading people. If you listen to some of the lyrics that Tupac was spitting just before his demise, he was really starting to change his direction of thinking. And he was a deep thinker. And he would have been dangerous because he had such a large following. People would have led, he could have led the masses off to the side of the world if he could. People would follow him. People would follow him wherever he went. And those type of MCs or the rappers or whatever it is, they marginalize them nowadays. They call them old school. You'll notice that the only rappers who ever stay relevant on the radio are the ones who've complied and sold out. Some of them were actually lyricists back in the days. And the only way for them to stay relevant is bowing down to what the industry says you have to be now. So that in itself is actually ruined the whole art form of rap. And again, my hat's off to Chuck D for, I didn't even realize it was 25 years, but man, it's been 25 years. And I remember that because I saw it full in color and live back in '89.